What? What on?
Easy. Easy. Don't get up so quickly. How are you feeling?
How do you think I feel? You shot me.
No. I saved your life. My arrow was tipped with a unique paralytic poison. It slowed your heart and kept you from bleeding out. Had I intended to kill you, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right. But why save me? I came here to kill you.
My original intention was to use that arrow on Mercer, but I never had a clear shot. I made a split-second decision to get you out of the way, and it prevented your death.
Yeah? I'm not entirely certain I believe you. Ugh. You've been pretty crafty up to this point.
Without the antidote I administered, you'd be as still as a statue. I treated your wounds and didn't leave you defenseless. The poison on that arrow took me a year to perfect. I only had enough for a single shot, and yet I used it on you. All I had hoped was to capture Mercer alive.
With the things that Mercer has done, things that are very clear to me now that I've been on the receiving end, why would you want to capture him? Why not kill him outright?
Mercer must be brought before the guild to answer for what he's done. He needs to pay for Gallus's murder.
Yeah? And how are you going to prove that? He's done a pretty good job of painting you as the villain to the guild and beyond.
My purpose in using Snowvale Sanctum to ambush Mercer wasn't simply for irony's sake. Before both of you arrived, I recovered a journal from Gallus's remains. I suspect the information we need is written inside.
Suspect? What do you mean, suspect? The thing can't be locked shut. At least that wouldn't be a problem for you. Just open it up and read it. What does it say?
I wish I knew. The journal is written in some sort of language I've never seen before.
You mean it's encoded? If that's the case, then Gallus must have learned from someone else how to write it that way. Who could have helped him?
Enther. Gallus's friend at the College of Winterhold. Of course. The only outsider Gallus trusted with the knowledge of his Nightingale identity.
Wait, what? What in oblivion is a Nightingale, and what does that have to do with anything? You mentioned that when talking to Mercer earlier, too.
There were three of us. Myself, Gallus, and Mercer. We were an anonymous splinter of the Thieves' Guild in Riften. Perhaps I'll tell you more about it later. Right now, you need to head for Winterhold with the journal and get the translation. Here, take these as well. They may prove useful for your journey.
Hold on, what do you mean? You're not going to do this yourself? You won't even come with me to Winterhold? A little bit important to be shoving off into the hands of someone you only just met, don't you think?
I'm afraid not. There are preparations to make, and Gallus's remains to lay to rest. I promise to join you there as soon as I can.
Alright. Before I go running off trying to learn something from Enthir, though, how about you tell me more about Gallus? I've only got one side of the story on him so far. What's more, I only recently learned about him.
He was a scholar, a master thief, and a natural leader. Everyone respected him and followed him without question. It was Gallus who inducted me into the Nightingales, and honed my skills to a razor-sharp point. I owe everything to him. We're very close.
I see. Well, at least Mercer wasn't lying about that. The fact that you two were lovers.
Gallus once said he felt comfortable around me, able to let his guard down. I can't help but think that I'm responsible for what happened to him.
Carlia, you can't shoulder the burden for someone else's betrayal. Mercer is responsible for his own actions. But given the things that he's done, especially what he did to Gallus and what he's done to you, and now to me, why didn't you kill him down there? Why didn't you just end it and get rid of him?
Mercer lied to the Guild, branded me a murderer, and slandered my name across his network of contacts. For 25 years I ran, never sleeping in the same place twice and carefully covering my tracks. Mercer doesn't need to die. He needs to feel the cold sting of fate as his life crumbles in front of him and he's hunted by the Guild.
I don't blame you for wanting him to suffer that fate. But the next time you see him, especially now that he's wronged me, you might not have a choice. Death is a quicker, albeit less preferable way to make him pay.
I can promise you if it comes to that, and my back's to the wall, I won't hesitate.
Good. Now that we understand each other, I'm going to head out to the college. I'm certain I'll see more of you as time goes on, Carlia.
Remember, speak only to Anther. Trust no one else.
Bye, Deidre. Here we go. Arniel! Arniel.
Perhaps we can go another few decades without a disaster. That would be nice.
Indeed, Arniel. And speaking of magical disasters, well, let's hope that your little experiment here doesn't backfire or anything. I've managed to find the dagger that you needed. It was a bit of a trek to actually find it, but I managed to pick it up on my way back from Riften. Here.
The dagger? Duh! By Akatosh, they didn't even wrap it correctly. You didn't touch it, did you? Well, no. Of course you must have. Did you attempt to wield it? And you're not dead? Gods, it's a wonder it's in one piece.
Okay, hold on, Arniel. What's so special about that dagger? I'll admit it's unique and I've never seen anything like it before, but why would I have been harmed by it by just picking it up?
This is not just a dagger. This is a dwarven artifact beyond nearly all value. A singular instrument of immense power. A tool of impossible import. Keening and its counterpart Sunder. Used by the tonal architects of the Dwemer to tap into the heart of Lorcan.
Whoa, hold on, Arniel. You're telling me that you sent me to get Keening from the legend of the Nerevarine? One of the very tools used to tap the heart of Lorcan. A dead god whose body created existence as we know it? At least the planet Nirn? By the nine. I knew that you were playing with fire, Arniel, but you had better not need something more dangerous than this for your little experiment. You have everything at this point, right?
I do. I do indeed. Keening, one of the great tools of Kagranak himself, is finally in my possession. I don't think I really believed this day would come.
Yes. Yes. Neither did I. You've delivered quite the surprise to me today, especially given that I found that thing without knowing what it was I was looking for. What exactly are you going to do with it anyway?
Now we see whether my theories are correct. I apologize if I have not been clear about my work. I didn't want to discuss it for fear this moment might never come. Everyone knows the dwarves disappeared. No one knows why. This little experiment is a first step in recreating the events of their disappearance in an effort to unravel that mystery. Lacking the heart of a dead god, I'm substituting the crystal you helped craft in its place. I also lack Sunder, the counterpart to the dagger Keening. I am reasonably confident, however, that this will still work. I certainly don't expect it to have quite the same results. I'm no tonal architect, of course. Well, I suppose it's time, isn't it? Let's see what happens. You may want to stand back a step or two. But please, don't leave. You've been instrumental in this process. I'd like you to see the results firsthand. Right then,
Oh boy. Arniel, are you sure? Ooh. Okay.
That didn't really do anything, did it? Perhaps a little harder. I don't understand. This should produce some notable effect. Work, damn you!
You may want to be a bit careful there, Arniel. Something... What just happened? What? Wait a minute. The disappearance of the dwarves, then. Hold on a minute, I feel a bit different. It would appear... Uh-oh. What on earth? Oh dear. Arniel, well, disappearance of the dwarves. I think we have a better grasp of what happened. On a smaller scale. So he did this by just smacking it with keening. What if I was to... Looks like it's completely null at this point. Well, what was it that Tolfdir said to me? Fate worse than death?
Restoration is a perfectly valid school of magic, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Oof, alright, well, I could have sworn that there was a freaking enchanting table. Since I'm here, I have an ebony, hand axe that I can use. I need to enchant it. No better place than the College of Winterhold to get that done. You know what, I'm gonna take another look upstairs. I swear that it's in this hall. And also, I now have another summon. A summon that actually doesn't take any mana, or magicka, to cast. Oh, sure enough, I'm just blind. It was here this whole time. Okay, so, I'm gonna end up selling off this Dwemer sword. So, let's go ahead and enchant this ebony war axe. There we go. That's right, it's the difference between a battle axe and a war axe. So, let's do fire... You know what? I got shock damage. Let's do that instead. There are fewer enemies that have shock resistance than there are enemies that have fire resistance. Grand, and just go ahead and rename this the Blood Draw. There we go. There we are. Okay, I've upgraded. Now I just have to find time to turn it into a Daedric War Axe at some point. But in any case, as Tolfdir said, fate worse than death. A spell can backfire and it can harm you, but then some things go completely wrong. A little bit like the Augur of Dunlain here in the college, who's bound up with the energies that flow through the whole place. Arniel has now managed to somehow banish himself. How he's banished himself still kind of escapes me. You can imagine that basically what's happened to Arniel here is essentially the same thing as what happened to the dwarves. It's just he was exercising the same... He was doing the same thing with, well, one half of the artifacts. From Morrowind, like, keening was used to tap the heart of a dead god, and, keening was so powerful that it would kill you if you held it without Sunder, which, or was it Wraithguard?
Let me know if you need anything, or take a seat by the fire and I'll send
anyway,
someone over.
Enthir.
Yes, what is it? Can I help you with anything else?
Yes, Enthir, but don't worry, this has nothing to do with Arniel. Though, on that note, I should probably tell you that you'll never have to worry about him again. Well, as a related topic, when I joined the College of Winterhold, Tolfdir warned about the dangers of magic, and, the possibility for spells to backfire, and how there are worse fates than death. Well, let's just say that Arniel, you'll never see him again for similar reasons. But that has nothing to do with why I've actually come to see you. Just a incidental bit of news for you. Listen, I've actually come because Carlia sent me. I assume you know who I'm talking about.
Carlia? Then she's finally found it. Do you have Gallus's journal?
Oh, straight to the point. You must have been expecting it then. Well, to answer your question, yes, I do have the journal. But I've come seeking you to solve a particular problem.
A problem? Let me see it. Ah, this is just like Gallus. A dear friend, but always too clever for his own good. He's written all of the text in the Falmer language.
Falmer language? Wait, you're telling me that those pasty cave-dwelling freaks actually have a language? And they can write it? My god. Well, can you translate it?
No. However, I know someone who might. The court wizard of Markarth, Calselmo, may have the materials you need to get this journal translated. A word of warning. Calselmo is a fierce guardian of his research. Getting the information won't be easy.
Oh, wonderful. That grumpy old man. But you know, Enther, I've been in my fair share of dwarven ruins and caves. Seen a lot of Falmer, killed a lot as well. I don't know what on earth they are. What exactly is a Falmer? Where did they come from? I've never learned anything other than the fact that they are extremely violent, and now that I have an opportunity for a scholarly discussion about them, well, what can you tell me?
In the time before man, they were known as the Snow Elves. They lived in the sunlight and had a very prosperous society.
Snow elves? Judging by their stature, they wouldn't be too different from Bosmer, such as yourself.
Yes, I would say their culture quite possibly rivaled our own.
Well, if they were rival to other Mer, what on earth would drive them underground?
The Nords went to war with the Falmer in the First Era. Killed them by the thousands to drive them from their snowy homeland. The Falmer retreated underground and forged an uneasy alliance with the dwarves who ended up betraying them. This betrayal made them what they are now, horrible, blind monstrosities with a burning hatred of any but their own kind.
By the way you describe Falmer, it sounds a lot to me like you despise them.
Why shouldn't I? The Falmer have killed more than a fair share of my acquaintances. They're animals. They show absolutely no pity or remorse. If you wish to learn more about them, you're welcome to my tome on the subject. Should be on my table.
I might get around to it. But why would Gallus scribe his journal in the Falmer tongue? Seems an awfully obscure language to write something in. What was he trying to hide?
Besides the fact that there are only a handful of people in Tamriel that even recognize the language, I'm fairly certain he was planning some sort of a heist that involved a deep understanding of the Falmer language. Sadly, we never had the opportunity to speak about the details.
Well, if there are only a handful of people who can recognize the language at all, much less read and write it, he must have learned how to encode in Falmer from somewhere. Got any ideas?
Ironically, I pointed him in the same direction I pointed you, to Markarth and Calselmo. I'm only hoping whatever means he used to learn the language will still be available to you.
I see. One other thing, Enther. I've only just recently learned about Gallus. He's quite the enigma, and he's been obscured to me until just recently. Everybody seems to have stories about him. You knew him. What can you tell me?
He was a dear friend of mine, and a surprisingly astute pupil of academia. I was devastated when he was killed. I suppose that risk always coexisted with his line of work. I just never thought his luck would run out.
A thief is dangerous enough, but one that's smart? Well, that's a whole nother level. But why would he choose a life of crime if he was so intelligent?
For the thrill, of course. He was quite clear that he felt more in his element climbing through a window rather than hunched over a dusty tome.
How did the two of you meet, then? With him chasing the thrill and you running experiments in a lab, those seem like two tracks that would never cross.
Yes, quite an amusing anecdote, actually. I caught him trying to break into my laboratory. I was about to show him the error of his ways when he made a curiously astute comment about my research notes. I was astounded, and in turn it led to a conversation. Who would have imagined it would lead to such a strong friendship?
Who would imagine indeed? Although I suppose you meeting him has led to your side business as well. But that's neither here nor there. Enthyr, thank you very much for the information. I'm certain I'll be back to talk to you once I get the knowledge that I require. I'm not exactly the best of scholars. I'm more in the field of practical magic. Anyhow, I'm off to Markarth. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Calcelmo is stubborn as a mule. Be careful when you speak to him.
Don't worry, Enthyr. I've dealt with Calcelmo before. With any luck, I'll be able to pull in some sort of a favor from him. Anyways. Shut up, stupid guard. Just because I'm a good lockpick doesn't mean I'm a thief. Actually, it does. But he doesn't know that. Anyways. Off to... Markarth. Right, Markarth. So... Wait a minute. I'm going the wrong way. Okay. Now we're off to Markarth. Heading west instead of east. Gotta get my bearings straight. Probably drop by my house before I get there, too.